So hello, I'm going to talk about making online support larger spreadsheets. I'm on the way. So the thing is, some other spreadsheet software supports up to 16,000 columns, which until recently LibreOffice and as such also online didn't support. So if you try to import them, you got a warning about there being too many columns, and it just wasn't read in, so you could have data loss. There has been worked on increasing the support for quite years, but it's actually not so simple. It would seem that you just increase the number, which is the limit, and yay, you support more limits. But there actually were some reasons for why this was experimental. So my work was getting finally ready for normal use. So it's not an experimental option, but it's something which just exists. So the basic problem is simple. If you enable more stuff, then you have more stuff, and this more stuff can create problems. It needs more memory, it needs more time to process, it can be more data to be sent over the network. There can be actually even some user changes. So, as you know, spreadsheets use these letters, numbers, coordinates. So the last column is now XFD. So if you use, for example, a named range like number 1 or value 10, now it's an address. So when I was testing this, actually a number of test case documents we had failed because it suddenly wasn't referring to the named range. So this should not be a problem. There is backwards compatibility for all documents. It will still know that the previously named ranges are not addresses, but for new documents you will not be allowed to use this to make it unambiguous. And now it should work, right? But still there may be some technical problems, because if you add 16 times more columns, you can spend 16 times more memory, and generally most of us, we don't actually use 16,000 columns. So we will be using like the first 10, maybe like 50, and then a lot of it would be unused. So it actually makes sense to just allocate the stuff on demand. So for example, like this is some kind of example. So if you are here, it makes sense to allocate only up to here. And all those almost 16,000, you can keep them unallocated. So it can just grow as you need. But sometimes people can do also stuff like, let's select this whole row and make it bold, which would then make 16,000 columns bold, but they will be all the same. So actually, we have this allocated portion, and there we have one portion which is like just the default. So you still do not need to allocate, but some data, not all of it, but like bold stuff, so can be just the default. So this default is supposed to go here. But that's my fault. I was lazy. I didn't format it properly. I just wrote allocated space. It was apparently smarter than me. Anyway, so this of course led to a number of crashes, because originally the software was written in a way that you just allocated everything. So no need to check if the column is allocated. So for like the last half of the year, I was getting all kinds of bug reports about it crashes if I do this or do that or do that. Because even in the previous work, actually, this allocation area, not all of it was my implementation, part of it was part of people previously working on it, but I still, for compatibility, kept at least 64 columns allocated. And so since people usually use only like 50 columns, it didn't crash. Only when I went down to 0, then suddenly all the stuff started crashing. So this needed to be fixed. I think I have fixed more of them. Maybe you will be a lucky winner and still find something. Make a bug report, it will get taken care of. So all the code now needs to change, because like if you are just reading data, it depends if you care actually about the defaults or not. If you are writing, you need to you need to check. So this is just a lot of work, but by now it's just simple. The other part is if you have 16,000 columns, it takes time to, like, if you just hit right arrow, then just check all the columns to the right, because maybe if you only unlock the first columns and the remaining almost 16,000 columns are locked, then what the code used to do was like, go one right, is it locked? Oh, it is, go one right, and it was going like 60,000 columns and checking that all of them were locked. And even worse, it might have been quadratic or worse. So originally, when I did actually hit right key, it was like pum, pum. So basically, a lot of the time the algorithms needed changing, just going up to the allocated columns, because for most of the stuff it doesn't make sense to check the columns which are not there. So hopefully I have also fixed all of these problems. If you find something, again, just complain. And since we are talking Collabora Online, there is the additional problem of network, because you also need to get it to the user, which can be more expensive than on the desktop. Fortunately, already designed things like tiles, actually they are on demand, so as long as you don't go there, it doesn't matter. And even if you go, it's more, I basically just ran into one problem in Clipboard. We had some tests which in order to check the results, just did select all and copy and paste. So it like did all the entire huge thing, and it take long enough for the test to actually time out, because it will think, oh, it probably looked up. But otherwise, it seems to be working. So LibreOffice 7.4 released this summer, and also the latest online based on this. You can have also 16K columns. As I said, it should work. If it doesn't, complain, but I think I've figured it all at once. You will be lucky if you still find something. Maybe. We still have 16 million rows as an experimental option, because that's less commonly used. That's actually more than Excel support, so that's something for later. This was mainly to catch up. So that's the last slide. So it just works.